Good morning, Suncoast. I'm Dr. Troy Doucet. I'm one of the teaching pastors here at Suncoast. We're so thankful that you're with us, whether you're live in person or watching online. I feel kind of lonely up here without my gray-haired friend, man. I hope I remember how to preach, so get ready. I just want to give you guys a few quick announcements in the life of the church so you can be abreast as to what's going on. Next Sunday, that'll be June 1st at 6 p.m., Siesta Beach, the yellow lifeguard stand. We are having our Suncoast baptisms at Siesta. If you want to get baptized, see Pastor Kevin Kaiser at Grand Central. He'll get you signed up. We have a pretty big crew that's signed up this year for baptisms. It's going to be awesome. In fact, one of my good buddies is going to be getting baptized. His name's Daniel Crane. Daniel's in the back over there. He is going to be finishing a 100-mile run at 6 p.m. He's going to be, thank God the water's there, man. After 100 miles, I'm going to need water. He's going to run into the water, get baptized after this huge spiritual sort of challenge for himself. It's going to be awesome to see and be a part of that moment. And also, we have one more week of the Our Father series next week, and Dr. Bachman will be back. But then in 2 weeks from today, we crank up Summer at the Movies. Man, I am excited about that series we do every year. And the first movie we're going to kind of pull some principles from is a favorite of mine. It's called Waterboy. I don't know if you've seen it. I'm not sure what song the band is going to do from that movie, but it's going to be really, really awesome. And what we do for that series is we look at some blockbuster movies and we pull some life principles from them. And of course, our amazing band performs some of the theme songs from the movies. It's going to be awesome. That starts in 2 weeks. So today, man, what a hard sermon to preach. If anything from this sermon reflects 9 o'clock, it is a tough one to preach from this prayer of Jesus called the Lord's Prayer, also known as the Our Father. Dr. Bachman and I have challenged you guys to hopefully say this prayer daily. And what we do is we want to hope that this illumination of the depth and the meaningfulness of Jesus' prayer that he showed his disciples how to pray would create within you this deeper connection and growth between the Spirit of God that is already within you. Because here's the truth. Prayer is a powerful thing when used properly. It reminds me of my good buddy back home in Louisiana, Boudreaux, right? Boudreaux got invited to a tent revival. I don't want to assume that everybody knows what that is. You guys know what a tent revival was? Preachers coming to town, man, they preach the fire of God. Healings happen, all this stuff. A few snakes may be held. I don't know what's going on in there. But Boudreaux goes with his wife Marie, and they're on the front row, and the preacher starts praying for healing. And he's laying hands on people. People are stretching their hands. And he comes to Boudreaux, who's standing there as Boudreaux normally is, very confused as to what's going on. And he says, "Sir, how can I pray for you today?" And Boudreaux looks at him and he goes, "Can you pray for my hearing?" And the guy goes, "Absolutely. People pray with me." He puts his hand over Boudreaux's ears and he starts praying very emphatically. Takes his hand off. He goes, "How's your hearing?" And Boudreaux goes, "Man, I don't know. It's next Monday at the courthouse in Baton Rouge. I don't." Some of you will get that later on. We're a little slow this morning. But here's the background to this prayer. In first century Judaism, prayer was a central part of everyday life. It was taught, practiced, and often recited out loud. The disciples had grown up hearing these prayers throughout their entire lives, in the schools, in their homes, but yet something about the way Jesus prayed was different. They saw in his prayer this depth of connection with God, this depth of authenticity in his being, and this intimacy that was unlike anything they had ever experienced. Because here's the thing, it wasn't just that Jesus prayed, it was how he prayed. And in seeing this, they looked at Christ and they said, "Teach us how to do that. Teach us." Because here's what was happening. They were not asking for more ritual in their life. They were asking for real relationship with God. And when Jesus says, "This is how you pray," he wasn't just giving them words to recite. He was giving them a way to live. And in response, you know what Jesus doesn't do? He doesn't give them a formula. He gives them an invitation. The prayer is very simple. We'll read it here in a moment, but it's very profound. And what I love about the framework that Jesus shows us about the communion we have with God is that this prayer does not begin with a list of requests. It begins with a recognition of who God is, of where God dwells, and what God's desire is for the world. In teaching them how to pray, Jesus was actually showing them how to live with trust, humility, dependence upon God, and forgiveness at the center and core of our being. In other words, this prayer that I'm about to say is not just about what to say. It is a challenge on what to become. So let's look at the prayer. Here's what it says. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be your name. Your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For yours is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever. Now I gotta admit, the part of the prayer that I get to preach about alone today is the one that causes me the most bit of conviction in my life. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. What does that mean? Buckle up. Buckle up, because you're either gonna love me or hate me today. This word temptation is a Greek word, peirasmos, and it has a constellation of meanings. On one hand, it does mean what we think it to mean. It's a temptation or an enticement to do wrong or rebellious or sinful acts. That's one way to look at it. But it's also a meaning of testing your faith in God. But it also has another connotation. It is a trial which acts as an examination of your true character and integrity. That's the one we don't like. See, this word temptation, peirasmos, does not only refer to testing and temptation as some sort of enticement to do wrong. It also means that there are difficult situations that arise in our life that will test our faith in God and our own personal integrity when no one's watching. James, in his account, in his epistle, James, the brother of Jesus, says, "Count it all joy, brothers and sisters, when you face trials, tests, or temptations of many kinds." See, not every test in life is going to try to lead you to do bad things. Some of the most soul-shaping trials and tests and temptations you will ever face are not about choosing right and wrong. It's about choosing who do I want to become when life is not going how I planned it or how I want it. Because here's the thing I want to say. These types of testing and temptations are not to give over to bad thoughts or actions. But sometimes the test and the temptation is for me to give in to despair, to give up, to try to take control from God, and to stop trusting. Let me put it to you this way. These types of temptations don't whisper in your ear and go, "Hey, Jimmy, break that rule." These are the temptations that are more nefarious. They say, "Hey, Troy, you suck. Break down." Don't break a rule, break down. And let me tell you, I can only speak as a man, right? Because that's what I am. I fight those arrows of temptations every moment when I wake up in the morning. You're not good enough as a dad. You don't make enough money for your family. How dare you move 1,200 miles away from your children? You don't preach good enough to that community. All of these things don't say break a rule. They say you suck, break down. See, God is not a God who watches and waits for us to fail. He is with us every moment the testing arises, shaping us up when life is trying to strip us down. So not every temptation is an enticement to do wrong. Sometimes it's a test to see who you truly are. But let's get some things straight about this phrase Jesus uses in this prayer. Lead us not into temptation. Let me say this first. If you're taking notes, here's point number one. God does not seek to entrap us. God is the one who empowers us. Let me make something very, very clear. When Jesus says, lead us not into temptation, that doesn't mean God brings about the temptation. Listen to what the scripture says. Let no man say when he's tempted, I am tempted by God. For God cannot be tempted by evil, nor does he tempt anyone with it. God is not the one tempting you. He doesn't dangle sin in front of you like a bait on a hook. That's just not the character of God, at least not the God that I worship. And here's why. Let me give you an argument. I'm not just going to make an assertion. Because what tempts one person may not tempt or test another one. Let me give you an example. For some people in this room, you are tempted with power and influence and financial affluence. That has zero interest in my life. I could care less about power or how much money I have in my bank account. That doesn't interest me at all. But for some people, stock market, great. For other people, it's different. They seek praise and adoration. Like that's their testing, that's the temptation. I need to get enough likes on my Instagram and social media accounts. For some others, the temptation is control, comfort, approval. You see, here's the thing. Temptation is not just a universal trap. It's a personal pressure point. The source of temptation is not the God who created you. It is a distortion of the desires inside of you. And it mixes with the pressures around you. So now that we know what temptation doesn't mean, what is Jesus talking about when he says, lead us not into temptation? Let me give you an illustration that gives a clear sort of interpretation. Anybody ever been to Pikes Peak in Colorado Springs? I love that place. My brother lives in Colorado Springs. And I remember going up that road up 14,000 feet. I was scared, out of my mind. Let's just say that. Because it's breathtaking and terrifying all at the same time. The road winds up over 14,000 feet, sharp turns, no guardrails when you get near the top. And it's loaded with signs everywhere that say these things like, watch your speed, use a low gear. I'm not a mechanic, I don't know what that means. But here's what gets you. You know what'll get you on Pikes Peak? It's not just the danger, it's the distraction. Because it's so beautiful as you just get distracted. One wrong move and you're over the edge. And people have gone over the edge. They have lost control on this road, not because they were reckless, but because they underestimated how close they were to the edge. And that's the spirit of this phrase in the prayer, lead us not into temptation. It's like me saying to God, God, help me not to be so distracted that I drive too close to the edge, because I might not realize how vulnerable I am until it's too late. You see, this prayer is not about guilt. It's about guidance. It's about knowing yourself well enough to say, God, I don't always know my limitations. So help me stay on solid ground. Don't let this beautiful view, the thrill of going up this mountain, or the pressure of this moment cause me to lose more than just my footing. You see, here's what this phrase is telling us. It's not asking for a life that is void of testing and temptation, because it's gonna happen. It will happen. It's probably happening now for some of you. Here's what that phrase is. It's about asking God to help you develop this heart that is attuned and aware to the test so that you don't get overwhelmed by it. That's some good preaching. God, help me be attuned and aware to my limitations, so when those tests and temptations and those trials come, they don't overwhelm me. So you don't have to raise your hand, but some of you in here, I know you're overwhelmed with what you're going through in your life right now. whether it's a divorce, whether it's the loss of a business, whether it's the loss of a loved one, whether it's uncertainty in your finances or your job. I'm here to tell you, don't be overwhelmed. Be attuned to the test. Because it says, God is not entrapping you, God is seeking to empower you. This leads to point number 2 if you're taking notes. Oh, I love this one. This one, you're gonna love me. Temptation is a threat we often underestimate. True story. Oh, I'm gonna step on some toes here, Brett. I can't wait, man. That's what pastors do, right? Let's be honest. When we hear the word temptation, we often think of something cute and silly, like an extra slice of cake after lunch or dinner, or that Amazon Prime impulse buy. I come home sometimes, there are like 8 boxes stacked up. I'm like, what the heck is going on? It was on sale, 20% off. Oh my, what is it? Here's an obscure one. You guys remember those ab roller commercials that only showed at like 2 a.m. in the morning? Like you're up at 2 a.m. and you got Dorito chips on your chest from, the crumbs. Or maybe it's a good time now to get in shape. Like what brilliant marketing, right? It's the only time they ever showed it. That's what we often think of about temptation, is like some little thing that's naughty. Maybe I shouldn't have done it. No. Temptation, real temptation, is the front porch of evil. It's not the house, it's the front porch. And temptation knocks at that door of your life, pretending to be your friend. And here's the truth that you will not like. Most of us are bad at recognizing evil because we've been taught that evil is somewhere out there. It wears a ski mask. It's got a butcher knife or a chainsaw. It's in a horror movie. That's what evil is. No. Evil doesn't always wear a costume. Sometimes evil wants to wear your face. And sometimes evil does wear your face. Let me give you some examples of how. Jesus says, let your light shine before others. What does that mean? That means the light of God that's inside of me should be so consumed within me that heaven is not just a place I want to go to, it's a place I bring with me. When I walk into a room, do people go, oh, crud, he's here? Or do people like, dude, you're here? That's the difference. That's a practical difference right there. But here's the thing, most of us don't hide our light because we're being rebellious. Most of us just dim it. We just turn it down. Why? Because we're afraid. We're embarrassed sometimes. We don't want to be different. We want to belong because we long for public acceptance, even at the cost of our spiritual identity. Temptation ain't always loud and obnoxious. Sometimes it's just the soft pressure to shrink back, to stay safe. And you guys ready? Sometimes temptation is simply settling for being included rather than being authentic. Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo-hoo-hoo. That's gonna end up on a reel. Jesus goes on to say, love your enemies, but when someone wounds you or offends you or talks crap about you, that moment of silence right before you respond, that's where temptation is knocking. That split second where you say, retaliation, retribution, revenge, or you say, greater is the God who lives in me than the one who is talking crud about me. And I will not become less than what I know I am. And what do? We get tempted to gossip, to retaliate, to write this person off because they said or did something that offended me or that I didn't agree with. That's temptation knocking. And if we let it in, you know what we're doing? We're not just having a bad day. You're building a kingdom mindset. And my question is, which one? Kingdom of heaven or kingdom of darkness? When we give in to temptation, I'm letting you know you are cooperating fully with the expansion of darkness. Temptation is not your friend, and it never just knocks one time at the door of your life. It hangs around. It lingers. It babysits your desires. And it feeds them until they're ready to act out. You see, some of us think temptation is just this strong craving. Ooh, I'm so tempted to just binge watch Netflix tonight and not go to church. That's not temptation. That's a boring Tuesday night. Real temptation should not be underestimated or minimally equated to an extra brownie or an impulse buy. You know what temptation really is? It's a spiritual identity theft. It tries to convince you to act out of someone you're not or someone, you ready, that you no longer are. Let me remind you again who you are. You are a child of God. Act like it. And treat other people like they are as well. Because we are. Temptation is a threat we often underestimate. And that leads to this last point. God just doesn't deliver us from evil. He uses you and I to defeat it. Jesus says, lead us not into temptation and deliver us from evil. What is he teaching us in that last part? Deliver us from evil. It's Jesus saying, be honest with God. To say, God, sometimes I do have evil desires and thoughts. And sometimes these desires are my own thinking. And sometimes they come from outside of me. But I know either way I'm going to be tempted to show a version of myself that I'm not going to be proud of later on. Or I'm going to show the world a version of myself that I'm going to regret later, even if it feels good now. How do I know temptation and testing are coming for us all? Because even Jesus was tempted. Even Jesus was tested. All three synoptic gospels, Matthew, Mark, and Luke, account for this temptation of Jesus in the wilderness. He was out there 40 days and 40 nights. The number 40 is a symbolic number in the Bible, and it simply is used as a time of testing and preparation towards transformation. And it says that the devil came and tempted Jesus with 3 tests. Now here's what I believe. I believe those 3 tests relate to all of us here and now. I think every temptation and test we go through in life can be in one of these 3 examples Jesus goes through. Now, I know some of you got excited. Oh, we're going to talk about the devil in church? Well, I think we get that idea wrong. The word Hasatan, or where we get the word devil, is not just this being. It is a sort of adjective, descriptive of things that cause adversarial obstacles in your life. So anything can take the form of the devil or Satan. Your mama, your daddy can be Satan. Jesus called Peter Satan in the Bible. So when you say, oh, Troy, I'm just being attacked by the devil today. Really, how? I ran out of gas on 75. Now you just forgot to fill up your tank. The devil is in hell crying, going, man, these Christians blame me for everything. But here are the 3 temptations you can write these down. He's in the wilderness 40 days, 40 nights. The devil, the obstacle, the adversary, the tempter comes to him. He knows that Jesus is hungry. So the first temptation is, hey, Jesus, see all these stones? Turn them into bread. Eat them. You can do it. You got the power to do it. You're the Son of God. Now notice, this is not a bad test. It's not like Satan is telling Jesus, hey bro, kill that guy. Hey bro, break the law. There's nothing malicious or nefarious about this request. There's no law breaking going on. You know what this temptation is? It's about personal provision and selfish ambition. It's a question for all of us that says, when I'm empty, when I'm hurting, when I'm hungry and desperate, do I run to God with authentic faith, or do I run to the problem for a quick fix on my own power? Because we live in a culture that's quick fix, microwave management, right? I get mad when McDonald's doesn't have my drive-through number 3 meal ready in time. And here's the thing, some of us we've spent years turning stones to bread. You hustle, you strive, you overwork, you overspend, you overcompensate, because deep down what you really believe is that, man, God might not come through for me this time. And it's true. You've got gifts, you've got talents, you've got influence. I have degrees. Some of you have financial resources to make it happen on your own. Awesome. But let me say it this way. Let me get real pastoral with you. Just because that power is in your hands doesn't mean it's in his will. Come on, somebody. See, personal provision without divine dependence is just selfish ambition with no direction. We've all been there before. I can do it. I'm strong and independent. Good luck when you get hungry, when you get desperate. Then it says the second test Jesus faced was that the devil brought him to the pinnacle of the temple. This would have been the most visible, the most religious, the most impressive place in all of Jerusalem, the Temple Mount. And he tells Jesus something interesting. He goes, hey, Jesus, look at all these people gathering, because people would have gathered there by the thousands every day. And he says, the Bible says, the scripture says, if you jump off of this pinnacle of the temple, that angels are going to come down from heaven and grab you so that you don't even cut your foot on a stone. Again, nothing very sinful about that request. He's saying to Jesus, prove who you are. You're the Son of God? Show us. You know what this is? This is not about survival, Jesus falling and dying upon the fall. This is about the spotlight. Ooh, this is going to hurt. It's about validation through spectacle. It's about the temptation to build your identity and worth on what other people think about you. I mean, imagine if Jesus would have jumped off of the temple and angels come down from heaven and catch him. Like, let's say that literally happened. If I would have been there, I would have been like, oh, snap, this dude's a boss. Jesus is like, that's not where my identity or worth comes from what other people think about me. And it shouldn't be for you. Some of us are constantly standing on our own temple pinnacles, posting for likes, overcommitting for approval, overachieving for attention. But what is the temptation? Let me give it to you. The temptation is that if I do something big enough, if I'm loud enough, if I'm impressive enough, if I make enough money, then I'll finally be enough. Oh, wrong. Here's the truth. You cannot give away what you do not have. And you cannot earn what you've already been given. Stop trying to impress people. And the last temptation, this is the biggest one. He takes him to the mount and proverbially shows him all the kingdoms of the world, it says. What does that mean? Well, it's just a symbol of, he shows him political power and influence. He shows him cultural influence and dominance, a global reach of Jesus' ministry. If he just compromises his integrity and worships the adversary. You know what that temptation is? Is to gain influence without any surrender, to grasp power without any pain. How does that relate to us? We live in a world, y'all, that is a do as I say, but not as I do world. Where our image matters more than my character. Now let me tell you where you can stick that. You see, influencers all over social media, they preach authenticity while filtering everything. Woo-hoo-hoo. Yeah? You got politicians who speak of justice, but yet all they do is grasp for power. You got religious leaders quoting Jesus and don't even know who he is. You see, here's the truth about this. Real power and influence is never taken. It's always trusted. True power doesn't come from taking control. It comes from giving it up. And it's our tendency as humans to grab power and to hold it because it makes us feel like we're more than we truly are. Let me pray for us, Suncoast. God, I pray for my family, my community, my friends, that this hard teaching today on what temptation is and what it is not would resonate in our soul. God, that we would be attuned to the test in our life so that we're not overwhelmed by it. That we would be awakened to the Spirit inside of us so that we can live into it. God, help us today to be not led into temptation, but to be used to deliver others and ourselves from evil. It's in the strong name of Christ we pray. Amen. Stand with me, Suncoast. I'm gonna tell you a real quick story and let you go. This mother walked into her son's bedroom, little 6-year-old boy. He's sitting on the edge of the bed. He's just bawling his eyes out, crying profusely, uncontrollably, unconsolable. She says, "Brian, what's the matter, buddy?" He looks up at his mom. He goes, "Mom, I'm so sad. I just figured out how to tie my tennis shoes." She goes, "Honey, what? That's wonderful. That's amazing. You're growing up. But why are you crying?" He said, "Well, that's the problem, because now I got to do it every day for the rest of my life." For some of us, that's the understanding now of the Lord's Prayer. Now you know. And you have to face this reality, these temptations of what is authentic and inauthentic, and how are you looking for influence in the world. It's like tying your shoes. It's your responsibility to communicate with God daily. It's your responsibility to be attuned to the tests and temptations in your life and to defeat evil by shining God's light into it, not by dimming it out. Here's the truth. God lives in you today. Now, Suncoast, go and live like it. He loves you. So do I. Have a great Sunday.